Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast Moving to Australia with Amitava Deb. I'm Arun Baylor and joining me in the studio is Amitava. Hi Amitava, Happy New Year. How you been?
Hi Arun, good afternoon. Happy New Year. I've been good. It has been a long time we spoke on podcast.
Yeah, our last podcast was on 23rd or
Mhm.
26th November, and then there's been a
Yeah.
break because the Christmas holidays, and also you were sick for a while. So at
Mm,
least we are back doing the thing that
I'm
we
back.
like.
I was working through, but yeah, we didn't do the podcast. A lot
Yeah.
of things have happened in the meantime. In the scene, in the migration market.
Yes, and we're going to talk about one of those things
Hmm.
today in this podcast. And if you remember, last year, late last year, we spoke about the migration review. There was a panel that was set up to look into the
Hmm.
migration system and why it's not working. This was sometime in March 2023,
Hmm.
and they
Yes.
outline what the current problems are and how
Hmm.
the Australian government is going to approach so that they can streamline the whole process and make sure that it works for everyone: international
Yes.
students, businesses, skilled workers. Recently, in November 2023, a migration strategy was released by the government. And one of
Hmm.
the objectives of the strategy is to streamline the temporary skilled migration, which
Yeah.
makes up 9% of Australia's total temporary migration system. And the government believes that for the system to work more efficiently for both employers and overseas workers, the
Hmm.
back to front system needs to be overhauled so that Australia can attract highly skilled workers from a rapidly growing pool of young skilled talent. So,
Right.
in this podcast, we'll touch upon why action is needed, what the existing
Hmm.
commitments are to improve the system, and what the new reforms the government will bring in later this
Hmm.
year. So, let's start with the first thing: why action is needed?
Sure.
What's wrong with the current temporary skilled migration system?
Well, I think if we step back, anything that goes on for a while, people start exploiting. So change is important to ensure that there is things are dynamic and there is less chance of exploiting the situation. Currently, the student visa process and the way things are, there has been a lot of exploitation by agents, and also the students who come here to study, um, they eventually are not probably genuine students. They come here to find work, better conditions from their home country. So all this is going to stop now. Well, that's what the government say. So they want to come up with a strategy they have reviewed, and they are yet to formulate the exact way forward. But some of the things in student visa they have indicated that would change are: number one, when someone comes here, they cannot easily hop onto another um, course easily. A lot of students come here and then hop onto something else because that is easy pathway to PR. I'll give an example. Someone comes here to study MBA and then they study cookery because it's easy to get a PR after finishing cookery. And then after doing all that, they probably do not become cooks and neither managers. So it really, the whole system is broken.
So it's just a pretext to enter Australia so that as a student, so
Yes,
that later on once they're here, they can tap into
yeah,
the labor market.
that is correct. Also, they are going to raise the bar for English language to 6 in IELTS, which is um, competent English.
Also, we read about worker exploitation.
Yeah, so now that's the other one, the temporary skilled worker visa, which is it has undergone many changes over the years. I've seen many changes. Earlier it was 457, then it became 482, and now they're saying we're going to call it skills in demand visa. I don't know what number that will be, It does make sense. In this skills in demand visa, there'll be three pathways, and this visa will be employer nominated. The first pathway, specialist skills pathway, is kind of similar to the global talent visa, which is still there, and this is for niche skills. So, what is a niche skill? Someone who has got a background in AI, cybersecurity, um, any innovative technology domain, or engineering managers. So these are niche skills, and they can come under specialist skills pathway, and they do not need to fall under any specific occupation. So skills occupation list, which is outdated, you don't need to follow that. For example, there is no data scientist in the skills occupation list. They found a workaround. So put that aside. If we have to move forward, they're saying we need people who have skills, not tied down by certain occupation labels. That's not what we want. So this is the specialist skills pathway. Any question on that one?
Yeah, let me come to one aspect of that, especially when it comes to temporary skill migration. There used to be back in 2013 an income threshold that was set by the government at 53,900 Australian dollars. Now, they realized that over the years it was never indexed and that threshold never went up, even though salaries did go up, especially in technology sector. So people with high skill sets were earning more, but then when skilled workers from overseas were coming in and they were sponsored by employers were taking advantage of the income threshold that was set, and they were never really paid as what they should be based on what the market situation is. That has now been raised to 70,000, and that
Yes.
is going to be indexed annually so that skilled workers are not exploited by employers here. So when we
Right.
talk
So that
about
is the current one. It's 70,000. Earlier it was 53,500.
900,
Now it's going to be changing every year
correct.
based on the index, as you said.
So is there a income threshold that the government has set for a specialist skills pathway? Are you aware of it?
Yes. So as of today, the threshold I think is 135,000 per year,
Okay.
and there will be 3,000 places allotted every year
For this stream, skill specialist
for this stream.
skills
Yes.
pathway. Okay. So the other two, let's talk about
Other
the next
two.
one, which is the
The
core
next one
skills
is the
pathway.
core skills visa pathway. So this is more traditional. It'll still go through the skilled occupation list. This is where the majority of the visa program will be. Um, so there will be a revised skills in demand list developed by Jobs and Skills Australia, and this list will be updated regularly, not by the Department of Home Affairs, but by the industry, which is called Jobs and Skills Australia. And any employer who wishes to employ someone, they need to have that person. I mean, firstly, it has to be one of the occupations in that list, and the person who will be nominated will. So this is similar to the current that is in place, and the minimum threshold for this one is going to be remain as 70,000.
So can you give me an example of what kind of skilled workers we are looking at when we talk about core skills pathway?
So core skills will be software engineers, civil engineers, construction project managers, all those that are on the occupation list.
Okay. Are registered nurses and teachers there on the core skills pathway list as well?
So we don't have the list yet, right? So if registered nurses are on that list, yes, they will come under this visa pathway.
Okay. And finally, the last one, essential skills pathway.
Lastly, this is for um, lesser skilled occupations and will be kept and restricted to specific sectors. Till date, they have mentioned aged care and disability sectors. The essential skills visa is for these sectors, and it'll be for those who will earn less than 70,000. It's for essential occupations, but maybe the salary is not going to be 70,000.
Okay, but these income thresholds will be indexed every year, like you mentioned
All
earlier.
those will be indexed as of today. They have tentatively said, it's 135 for the specialist skills visa pathway, 70,000 for the core skills visa pathway, and less than 70,000 for the essential visa skills pathway. These visas will be granted for up to 4 years. And there's one important change, which is the visa holders will be able to change employers more easily without um, without jeopardizing their pathway to PR. So the current situation is that if they change employment, their counter might start refresh.
They have 60 days to
So
look for a new sponsor, right? As per the
they
current
have to
system.
look for a new sponsor,
Yeah.
and their counter towards permanent residence resets, which means they have to wait all over again. And because of this, they are subject to employer exploitation. So the employer knows that the employee will not leave, because if they leave, they will face certain shortcomings, disadvantages. So they will stick to the job. So this is employer exploitation.
So to balance this power imbalance, they're putting in new measures, and one of them being that now you can switch your employer, and if you leave your current job or lose your current job, then you have up to
Mhm.
180 days to find a
Mhm.
new sponsor, right? As opposed to 60, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that will be one of the changes.
Okay.
But then it's all kind of in the strategy state. When they finally draft, we will know the details.
Now I know that you spoke to me earlier that when you have overseas worker who are sponsored by businesses here, if they don't fit the visa rules, then they have to go through a labor market testing agreement.
Mhm.
So what is the new change that the government is trying to bring in to streamline labor market testing?
Labor market testing will be streamlined, although the only announcement so far is that the requirement to advertise on Workforce Australia is abolished. The validity of advertising period will increase from 4 to 6 months. So currently, if an ad is more than 4 months old, that particular ad cannot be used. So they'll increase that to 6 months. And LMT will gradually phase out as Jobs and Skills Australia data on skill shortages improves and a core skilled occupation list is created as an alternative to labor market testing. Because labor market testing is really not a foolproof system. All you need to do is advertise and say that I couldn't find anyone. Is it really foolproof? No. It's the employer who is saying I couldn't find someone because he has someone to sponsor. So they're going to phase it out eventually. That's what they're saying.
In your opinion, does this also save on the processing time for these visas?
Well, processing time
Now that you don't have to
will be,
advertise.
well, yes, the advertising time will be saved, but at the same time, they have promised that the specialist visa pathway will be processed very quickly. I don't remember exactly. Did they say about a fortnight or something? It will be processed quite fast. There's another thing. Have you heard about Skills Australia Fund, Skilling Australians Fund,
No.
SAF? So every employer, when they nominate, for every year of nomination, they have to pay a certain amount into the Skilling Australians Fund. It's like a donation to the government to so that they can skill Australians up, skill Australians. So now they're going to make some changes to the Skilling Australian Fund. And if that has already been paid, there'll be more freedom for change of employment. Currently, when you change employer, you have to pay the Skilling Australia Fund all over again. And that probably is not a very good idea.
How much is that?
It's $1,200 if the turnover is less than $10 million, or $1,800 if the turnover is more than 10 million dollars.
Now, has the government mentioned anything about service level agreements for faster visa processing to reduce the time frame?
They only mentioned about the specialist skills visa pathway. I think they have mentioned something like 2 weeks to process. For the other ones, they will streamline, but I'm not aware of any time frame
All right.
that they have said.
And along with these changes, they're also planning on putting in regulatory changes, meaning that short-term stream of TSS holders now have a pathway to permanent residency. That was not the case earlier.
So that is the current situation. In November, the government announced some changes where any occupation has a pathway to PR, the transition pathway. Earlier, it was only the long-term list. But this is all going to change with the proposed changes. Everyone will have a pathway to PR.
So have they mentioned by which quarter we can expect these changes to be implemented? Towards the end of this financial year, or would it be towards the end of 2024?
So usually the changes happen in the month of April or May, or around October, November. So let's see. April may be too early, but you never know.
Amitava, I think we have covered everything. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. For those of you listening, if you have not subscribed, please do so. And our social media details will be available in the description of the podcast, including Amitava's LinkedIn handle. Thank you for your time, folks. See you next week. Bye.